Hi, Howard.
Hello, how are you doing, Michelle?
Fine. How are you?
I'm
Thank you
fine,
for
thank you.
agreeing. Yeah, thank you for agreeing to do the interview with me. This is part of the series that we're doing for San Diego Design Week on inspiration, or what inspires you. So, Howard M. Blackson III is a practicing urban designer, author, and lecturer. Working with AVRP studios in downtown San Diego, he manages the design and entitlement of urban mixed-use projects and development codes for municipalities across North America. A native San Diegan and member of the Balboa Park Committee, Howard was educated at the University of Westminster, London, an MA in urban design, and University of Texas at Austin, a BA in geography. And he teaches San Diego State University's Urban Design Studio. Read about his work here. It's, https colon backslash howardblackson.com, and I will post it in the blog. Yes, on the podcast thing, so that you'll be able to read those. So Howard, I know we're kind of limited in time, but so what are your first recollections of experiencing architecture?
Well, and thanks for having me, and thanks for asking, and also thank you for doing the San Diego Design Week. I think the San Diego Design Week is a great, opportunity for San Diegans to have a chance, a forum to talk about design because we just don't talk about it enough. We don't think about it enough. So great,
Yeah,
and
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 I
and
think
so then
your project is going to be great. We were talking a little bit about it before we started recording, and I think that Howard and David are really doing. They're if anybody has a chance to do this, maybe we'll post this one first so that before your actual San Diego Design Week event.
great, yeah,
Which
thanks.
is
And the recollection to answer the question of experiencing architecture, what I is when you asked me, when you sent the questions beforehand, to
Mhm.
really think about it, I really had to think about it. My first real recollection was actually leaving San Diego when I was young, just before high school. My parents, we left San Diego and moved to Texas. My dad got out of the Navy, and my mom was from San Diego, but he was, he was from Texas. So we moved to East Texas, rural country, suburbia, subdivision in the middle of nowhere after being in most of the time in San Diego. And so having that abrupt shift from like North Park, where my grandma lived, and we were in North Park right when we loaded up the truck, and we all said, well, goodbye. And then a day and a half later, we arrived, and I just remember going, oh my God, I'm in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing here. And that recollection of, and I really pined for, and I really kept that San Diego experience in my head, is like, that's where I'm from, that's who I am, that's what defines me. And so what's interesting about that is then when I came back, it was like, oh, this is what defines me. Oh my gosh, I could have done better. But
I think you're one of the only people that I've interviewed from San Diego that maybe is from San. Maybe there have been a couple other people that
yeah,
are actually from San Diego. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, San Diego in the 70s, it wasn't that architecturally that is significant. It was really just a funky beach town, and funky stuff and junky stuff, and all pretty much fairly new. I mean, San Diego kind of boomed in the 50s. So I was in the 70s growing up, and as a kid in the 70s.
Uh-huh.
San Diego was all new. All the streets were nice. All the street lights were good. All the paint was still fresh, and the buildings were all really cheaply put up, and they were all still really new. Now today, 20 years, 30 years later, thank God we're building new stuff today, because it needed an upgrade.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that difference between, just kind of funky Southern California urbanism and then East Texas ruralism was
Uh-huh.
a dramatic shift, and that's really, I think, what got me to thinking about this profession.
Hmm. Um, that's cool. That's cool. That's why
Yeah.
I mean, I think that we need to, educate people about like how far we've come. I mean, I came here in 82 originally, then I went back to finish up my senior year of high school, and then I came out here in 84. And then when I just think like even La Mesa was so much
Yeah.
different than it is now. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I grew up in Spring Valley. I was in Spring Valley. We
Mhm.
were over on over by Spring Valley Elementary School. And the 94 was being built, but it didn't exist. The
Yeah.
125 wasn't there. And it was, we were the edge of town. We would take the dog, we would just go like a mile away, down oh gosh, Casa de Oro, down past Casa de Oro,
Yeah,
and
Campo
we let
Road.
the dog out of the car, and the dog would run alongside the car while we drove, and that was how we ran the dog. But that was that, now that's all strip centers and strip malls and stuff beyond it. It's
Yeah.
really amazing how much it's grown, in my lifetime.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
In my lifetime, because even Rancho Bernardo was still being built. The 15 wasn't all done. So many of the freeways weren't even finished here until the 80s.
No, the
The 94,
125. The
yeah,
125 wasn't until what? Then the 90s or something? Yeah.
yeah, the one until in the 90s, and but even like where the 94 came in, the
Yeah.
94 wasn't even what it was,
Yeah.
because Federal used to be a boulevard that you had to turn onto to get downtown.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway,
So
just reminiscing about how old I am. But that's why first recollections are so hard. But I really do think that, and then thinking just a little more about it. When I went to the University of Texas, from that the campus was of 1920s Beaux Arts, the towers, at the center, access, and these grand boulevards, and this grand architecture, and it
mhm.
really got me there. That was where that was one. I'm not going to say that's my first recollection, but that was the most powerful recollection I had, was when I stepped onto that campus and realized, oh wow, this can be done formally and done well.
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
So what are three classic buildings that you like and why? Is that it
Yeah,
parlays the UT campus to
yeah, that's kind of where I was going, because
uh-huh.
that University of Texas Tower is iconic, and then the story with Charles Whitman is horrible, and it's like, oh, it's beautiful, it's terrible, it's your mother, your daughter, it's Chinatown, Jake. So but the Salk Institute obviously stands out. I'm curious to ask you: has everybody on this podcast said the Salk Institute is one of their three?
I on all of my podcasts, I would
Well,
say
not
that the Salk
on the
on
local, on the ones for
all of
local.
them. No, right,
Yeah.
well, mostly, yeah. In the San Diego one, I think,
Yeah.
yeah. In all the San Diego, I think they all say the Salk Institute, but it's not even. It's like everybody. It's probably, I would say. I mean, I'll go through and look, because I can look through in the blog and see like what
Yeah.
else three classic buildings. But the Salk Institute probably is like up there as number one. I'm sure that
Yeah.
and lately like Sagrada Familia is like, I mean, these aren't to say that you should, of course. Pam just said yesterday, she said Sagrada Familia, but guess why, like Sagrada Familia is one of her favorite buildings.
Big Gaudi.
They got married there.
Oh, wow. Well, that's
Yes,
a good one.
exact. Yes. So exact. So
That's
I think that her saying Sagrada Familia is probably one of the best reasons of why that's their favorite building, was Sagrada Familia. And yeah, yeah. So, and I mean, it would, and she said it was just like off to the side, like it wasn't formally, and it wasn't inside or anything. They were just kind of
no,
like off
right,
to
because
the
it's still under
side.
construction, right? Wait, is
Yeah.
it still under construction?
Well, that you can go inside, but like, yeah,
I know.
like 20 years ago or whatever, when she did it, it was like, yeah, it was under. So yeah, so the Salk Institute is probably, I don't know, like at
Yeah, I
least
mean,
50%.
I
Fifty
put the
percent.
Salk. I thought of the Salk. So here's
Uh-huh.
in honesty, I don't know what I'm going to say my third building is at this point. I'm still thinking about it. But I was going to say the Salk Institute, just because I know that it's the only building, if 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 the sea level rise doesn't take the cliff out for it, but in 500 years it'll be probably the only building that we would recognize
Oh
in the
yeah,
future, just
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's like it's everything, it's iconic, but it really is incomplete too. It's
Mhm.
supposed to have the backs are terrible. You have to enter it, one way to get that one big view. But I also really appreciate what I appreciate about it is my neighbor worked there. So I got to go. I went there a couple of times. They have a library in there. They gave away free books, and I got the well, I can't think of the Voyage of the Beagle book, the first edition. They were giving it away. It's like
Uh-huh.
this is an amazing library. It's an amazing place. And
Yeah.
then what else is amazing was the way that Khan had made all of these places for people to meet. So the water cooler was where cubicles met and the walkways, and then where from the water coolers, then where he had the chalkboards on the walls outside, so that if you could take that conversation to that next level, then you could take it into the next level, which is a bigger forum for meeting and talking, and then finally you could take it to the plaza where you can have the big formal giant meeting and the graduation ceremonies and all that stuff. And
Uh-huh.
it was just a hierarchy of places to talk and to innovate. And I just thought that was, when you
Uh-huh.
see it in plan, it's just brilliant. So much brilliance in that building, and you can just tell he was an exceptional architect.
Hmm.
Um, the second building that I was going to say was um, um, uh, in Seaside, Florida. There was a Leon Creer house.
Hmm.
Leon Creer has a house there. I went to college specifically to try to learn from Leon, and I did an internship at the Princess Foundation to try to get close. I didn't really get close to him until later, but
Uh-huh.
I went to a pilgrimage. So I went to Seaside to the Creer Building to see it, and I was really disappointed in it.
Oh,
Again, because he really just put a Greek temple on top of a house. And I was like, that doesn't belong there. And then later on, when we were talking to him, he was like, yeah, I kind of didn't do that one right. I kind of put a Greek temple on top of a house, and it doesn't really belong there. I would have done that differently if I had a chance. And I thought that was brilliant. But that, to me, it's a classic. You said classic buildings. I know you didn't
yeah.
mean classical. It
Yes.
didn't mean classical vernacular, but that you made me think classically. And that was the second building that had it that I like, because it was it was it was a diagram of an idea that didn't turn out exactly right. And I
Uh-huh.
just think that was it's a very dynamic, a very important building to me, because it's like, okay, there's more to it than the taking your dogma and applying it to a building and applying it to a place,
Yeah.
and learning from it and
Yeah.
learning from and so now you're going to ask me for my third building. I don't really know what my third building that I like and why. So I will just say I really like the California Tower in Balboa Park, because I look at
I'm with you on there.
but I'm looking
Yeah.
at it right now. I look out
Yeah.
my front window. I look
Oh,
out my
really?
front door.
You
Yeah,
can
and
see it?
it is on access of our house. Yeah, here, I'll show
Huh.
you. I know, it's fantastic. So that's why I bought the house. The house was it's a 1927 Craftsman in North Park. It was great,
Yeah.
20 years ago. But the street was all tore up because they were doing the sewer line. So I had to walk through the back door and around. And when I walked out, I opened the door. There it is.
Oh, yeah, I can
Right at
see
the
it.
end of the street. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just blew me away. And then, of course, Bertram Goodhue was a tremendous architect. It was it begat the whole Spanish revival. California. What I really like about it is that it's the idea that architecture was going to be used for economic development, and it was going to be good architecture, so it was going to be good for the public, good for the society, good for our civilization. Oh, and by the way, it's good for economy when you do that. But
Hmm.
when you just do it for economy, you don't give that other good stuff. It doesn't always work out. Like, the things fail, or just become money makers, pro
Hmm.
formas with a building around it. And
Hmm.
so I think that idea that the city made was like, we're gonna do something innovative. We're gonna do something great. Yeah, it's classically traditional, but it really was never done before. It was a really tabula rasa kind of idea of the time, and it worked. And so I'll make that my third building.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I really do like Balboa Park, and I mean, for me, I mean, I was talking to Christy when I interviewed her the other day about her inspiration question, and we were outside of the Mingay, and I said, I said, there's all of these. Like when we first came to San Diego, my mom was working for an attorney in Hillcrest, and so my brother and I would walk down to the park, right? We'd like go in,
Yeah,
we'd walk down to the park, and we were right, we were like 14 and 16 years old. We would just like walk around, and just like say, and it's just like I've always thought that it's just, so beautiful and just such a great park because it really is like a California park where you can go out. There are museums, but really you can experience it like outside and I love what they've done, as far as opening up some of the restaurants and then the work that was done at the Mingay, just as far as the coffee place and the outside places and Panama 66 and
yep,
just like all of those areas that I mean even the food trucks, though I don't like food trucks, but but the food trucks that they put along the Esplanade, on whatever day that is and
yeah.
yeah, I mean
No,
I think
I
it really is
agree.
a great place.
I agree. Um, I'm my proudest moment as a designer was to help bring the Plaza de Panama back.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that's the Bob Filner asked me and Mike Stepner and I what would we do, and
Mhm.
so we knew what the precise plan had said, which was actually very similar and very good, but we just said do this, do it quickly, do it because we just got past that whole Dr. Jacobs freeway bypass bridge on the Cabrillo Bridge concept and idea that was overwrought and overspent and over this and over that. So how, the question was, how can we do this something great cheaply?
Mhm.
We'll take out the parking, and it worked. It absolutely worked.
Oh
And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you can walk all the way from, there's the bocce ball courts at the
yeah,
end, and you walk across the bridge that was designed by Irving Gill, and then you
yeah,
walk into it, and then you can see, and you walk all the way to the end to the fountain, you know?
yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's a brilliant whole. The whole assembly is brilliant. I don't know if you know this, but that bridge represents the ocean. And then when you get to the Gill Administration Building, but that cartouche that's on top of that's in the front of the uh, Museum of Man Plaza, the California
Uh-huh.
Tower Plaza, that actually shows that's supposed to be the Panama Canal gates, and you see the Atlantic and the Pacific.
Oh, okay.
The
Okay.
two people are the Atlantic and the Pacific crashing into
Okay.
each other. Then you go through the gate, and that quadrangle in front of the California Tower
Yeah.
is supposed to be the Panama Canal. Then when you come out of the canal, the arcades, the Spanish arcades, you're
Yeah.
going along the Spanish Riviera coast, going up to California. And then when you get to the Plaza de Panama, that's supposed to be California and its utopian, end. That's where you arrive in California. So
Yeah.
that was all
I didn't know
designed.
that, Howard.
I know
I never read that or I never knew that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Bertram Goodhue
Yeah.
wrote about it, and it's called there were books on the gardens, there were books on the architecture that were published in 1915, and
Uh-huh.
Goodhue wrote that's the procession that was designed that way, and intentional, and that was really amazing. And that
Yeah.
anyway, so anyway, I love it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, what do you like about being an architect or an urban designer? I mean, you work,
Yeah,
you work for architects,
I I
yeah.
I understand architecture. I
Mhm.
don't practice it, but I do practice urban design. And what I like about it is it's well, it's an interesting tale. I did it as a job when I got a degree in geography in Texas. I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I did do some site planning, and I took a design class, a site planning class in college.
Uh-huh.
I moved to Hawaii because I was so angry that I left San Diego and surfing and had to go live in Texas, that I moved to Hawaii when I could leave Texas. So I was going to go straight, and I got a job with a landscape architecture firm that did master planning, site planning, and I was like, "Oh, I can do that." And they hired me. and I just worked. And then it even gets better. I went to Korea and I got a job with an architecture firm doing master planning and site planning in Korea. But I was really just doing it so I could go to Bali and surf, and the Philippines and surf, and Japan. I was just I my job was just a job to pay for my travel and my adventures and fun. It wasn't until I was asked to do something really asked to do a master plan in Korea, and I was asked to do an Orange County, Southern California master plan in a very historic, near a historic village. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm not doing this right. This is wrong. You can't impose this design culture onto this traditional, long-standing, very, very powerful culture. It was, and what they were doing was there was the rise of the middle class and the rise of the car in Korea in the 90s, and they
Mhm.
was changing the traditional village, and
Mhm.
that's when I stopped. And what I found in the long answer to this question is, what I was able to find was inspiration that this is bigger than me, that this is I'm touching things that last for years, and I'm touching things that influence the way people. It wasn't just a job, it wasn't just planning houses on ticky-tack houses on cul-de-sacs. It
Yeah.
was actually creating places that had meaning to people, where you live your lives, and and you die and you leave a legacy and you move on, and other people inhabit that. And I was like, whoa. And that to me was didn't hit me until a few years into my career. And that's what I really like about this job is the power it has on our everyday lives,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
the influence.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely.
But that didn't mean I didn't deliver a Orange County for the client. So I was young. What did I know?
You had to pay for your surfboard.
Yeah,
You had to pay for a new
the service
surfboard.
was great. So
Yeah, I mean, right? I mean, we've all, I don't know. I mean, I have this love-hate relationship with custom residential, right? I mean,
yeah,
some architects are like, I refuse to do custom residential. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing these huge houses. I mean, I've done them in the past for, clients in LA and the entertainment industry. And I mean, I kind of, I mean, I have my reasons of why I don't like to do that. But I mean, it's like, well, sometimes we do it, but anyway, I mean,
well, to
and
me,
the thing is that we keep, awarding thing, right? There was a thing from one of the architects in the housing forum. He kind of said like, okay, I'm going to go into this on the design awards jury, and I refuse to give any large home an award. But of course, he goes, oh my God, there was this one project and it was just beautiful. And there were all these nice details and everything. And he goes, and of course, we gave it an award.
yeah, yeah. I don't. I think the thing I didn't say is what else is interesting, and a large home has this too, is what we're really doing is we're like assembling a puzzle pieces, and
Mhm.
it's just that there's no, we also draw the picture on the puzzle box that we're going to put the pieces together on. So it's a very interesting way of assembling things and crafting things that become places, either a single family home or a main street, or a nice town.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And I mean, we can I mean, we can do things with a smaller budget, but we can also do things with that are very beautiful with a bigger budget,
Well, but
with materials that we just, right. I mean,
yeah,
marble is beautiful. Unfortunately, marble is also expensive. And
yeah.
um,
But like
I
your
look at
ADU, you're going to do an ADU. That's adding. You're adding density. You're adding, a housing unit. There's a lot of really good, positive social justice and environmental and all of the and economic benefits to just adding a simple ADU in your backyard.
Yeah. I mean, well, even for my own, and then also for, I mean, pretty much most of the single family homes that I've been doing. I mean, several of them, even in the last 2 years, are single family homes, also with attached ADUs. Like I'm doing, two brand, four brand new homes, and they all have attached ADUs. But then also, they're rather small homes. Like as far as, I mean, they're right, they're 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath, with an attached ADU, that's a 1 bedroom ADU. And it's all under 4,000 square feet on a single family lot that isn't that much larger, I mean. So I mean, right, we're multi-generational. You're still going to be able to have everybody, perhaps in one thing. And I mean, that's what we need to be doing, more multi-generational housing, but
Yeah. And that's because our culture is shifting, and the design expression of today is
yeah,
reflective of the cultural values of today, which is completely different from the values that my parents and my grandparents had. If they were to build that same type of home back then,
yeah,
they wouldn't have had the same expression of
yeah,
that home.
yeah. And I think it's true. I mean, I'm right. I mean, my great grandparents came from Europe, and when they came, they took care of their own, right? It's like when the parents, right, they all lived in one home. When everybody maybe went to another home, but then when the parents got older, that parent came into their home, and they took
Yeah.
turns having that parent, and they took, so nobody was in an assisted living facility or anything. The parents were living with the kids, and with and the grandkids were in the house. I mean, my grandmother came into my parents' home and was with us, and she enjoyed it. I mean, that was what she wanted. She liked, and we liked having her in the home. So
Two points you just reminded me of. So the thing that the project in Korea I was working on that kind of gave me my existential crisis was
uh-huh.
a retirement home in Korea, and they never had retirement homes before
Hmm.
because in Korea, when the families, the elderly, in Korea, what happens is when the young people move in, the young married couple move into the parents' house, the
Hmm.
parents give them all of their money. Then they don't wait till they die like we do. We wait till we die to give that the whatever that's called. I can't remember any words.
Inheritance.
Inheritance. Their
Yeah.
inheritance is actually given to the young people when they move in with the and take care of the grandparents.
Huh.
That's when the transfer happens. And I was breaking that up. It says there's the middle class was saying we don't want our parents living with us anymore. We want to be like American, Western culture. I was like, oh
Hmm.
God. And we want to be like you.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is the house I just described where we look at Balboa Park,
Uh-huh.
and I had an 80, it was a granny flat attached to it. And we had my granny move in with us because she was getting older and needed a place. And so we bought
Hmm.
the house with the granny flat. Then when
Yeah.
she passed away, we just turned the granny flat that's attached into our master bedroom. And
Uh-huh.
then when we leave, our kids will probably turn it back into an apartment and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Ongoing multi-generational.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So, what do you want to say about the future of architecture?
There is no future of architecture. It's a dying craft, the dying breed. I'm amazed at how few architects are asked to talk about city issues anymore. You can't get an art be an art. I know you were on a planning commission.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
A Doug
12
Austin,
years. 12 years.
Doug Austin in our office was a planning commissioner too for 6 years,
Mhm.
but he had to recuse himself from everything because he worked on the projects. I think, and to me that was ridiculous. Like you need the expertise of making things, making places, making buildings, making streets, making stuff in the discussion of how are we going to make our city better,
Yeah.
but we
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
We've lost. Rob Quigley might be our last, statesman of architecture, but you don't even see Rob on commissions and on panels and things as much anymore. But like years ago, like Mike Stepner, he was on television, he was on TV quite often. He was on the
Mhm.
news, he was in the newspaper, he was discussed. We don't, they don't, the profession of the city, there's no city architect. There's
Yeah.
architecture is being offshored like industrial, like steel any other toxic sort of
Mhm.
noxious industrial thing. And so and I think that, you know, the new building technology is so universal and international that you're losing that sense of place and that sense of that you know, the connectedness to a culture or connectedness to the materials that are available in an area. There's just
Yeah,
no use for
yeah,
that.
the
That's all
vernacular.
gone.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the architecture is becoming that kind of industrialized offshore sort of thing as well, and you're losing it, becoming architecture becoming more like you know, gurus on a mountain somewhere that you seek out. They're just, it's not the same. It's not the same. Gensler is going to own everything. Gensler is going to do every project now. And I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy the way Gensler has come in and just wiped out the architectural profession in San
Uh,
Diego.
yeah, it's kind of well, I mean, and then I mean that's I mean, I know people at Gensler, so I don't want to sit there and start but yeah, I mean, it's just the corporate, you know, the
Yeah,
corporate mentality, which of course people that are in corporate architecture firm, you know, they live for that corporate mentality, and then they just think like, oh, okay, we're just these people that like haven't made it or something. You know, where it's like,
yeah.
no, we've made our place and we're happy with it. And I would never want to work for a big corporation, you know. I
Well,
mean, I don't know.
I,
that's
I,
just the way
I
you
would,
know, that's the way I am.
I
But
would, but what I find out, what I find about it you know, the recession, the Great Recession in 2008 really changed the dynamic of architecture and design in San Diego for sure and across the nation.
mhm,
We haven't recovered from that, in my opinion. But the true art of architecture um, is the profession is it's like it's like it's not moving forward. It's getting smaller and smaller as the
uh-huh.
corporatecture is taking over, and designers are really just CAD. You see, you know, you're just taking BIM or Revit, and you're just copying and pasting, and you're sketched up, and you're going to copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, and you make, you know, the same pattern over and over again, and you're not really expressing much other than the pro forma. And I think that's fine because that's who we are, and we can, you know, look at their political climate's toxic, or you know, social climate's toxic, you know, why so is our architectural climates. It's toxic right now. And hopefully, you know, and hopefully what new comes out of it, you know, the pendulum swing will be,
Uh-huh.
you know, another thing that, like, the arts and crafts movement was a pendulum swing from the industrialization that they was beginning to rise. And so hopefully there's a pendulum swing back away from this architecture.
Yeah. 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 Just to say something about that. Somebody had asked me as a planning commissioner, they said, oh, do you have to recuse yourself from projects where you know the person? And I said, no. And they said, well, that's not fair. And I said, why is that not fair? And I said, you know what? If you're going to have a person on the planning commission that is an architect and they don't know any architects that are bringing projects, I said, you don't want that architect on your planning commission because they aren't out there. They don't know
Right.
what's going on in current. They don't know what
They're not in
people
the
are
business.
doing. Yeah, yeah, they're not in the
Yeah,
business. So it's like,
but
yeah,
that idea,
you know, I've had to approve projects or not approve projects for people that I went to architecture school with that I've known for years. You know, it's like I've had, but I mean, that's part of, you know, that's part of the critique, right? That's all part of
yeah.
the, yeah, yeah.
No, I was on the CCD. It became Civic San Diego, the
Mhm.
downtown redevelopment board. I was on the board for a little while, and I was the architect because I took Teddy Cruz's spot. And that's how I got in there.
The real Teddy Cruz.
And but it was interesting. You know, I was the only one that had any design background, and all of the projects were design projects. So it's like, why are we purposely dumbing ourselves down for to discuss the things that we have to make decisions on?
Mhm.
And dumbing down is not the right word. It's just like you are purposely avoiding the expertise because you for various reasons.
Yeah. Because you
And
think
but
it's
now,
elitist because somehow it's elitist and not just about design and making making the city a better place to live
Yeah.
because, right? I mean, you wouldn't go to a doctor that was, right? I mean, I always use like kind of the doctor analogy or the attorney, right? Other professionals. So it's like you wouldn't go
Right.
to, you wouldn't go to the cheapest doctor to do your surgery. You wouldn't go, you wouldn't want some doctor that like, oh, oh, he's not licensed. He's just a designer. He never got his license, but it's like, but he can do your kidney transplant, no problem. We'll
Right.
just
Yeah.
yeah, we'll just
There
use
are
it. Yeah.
there are sins from the past that need a pound of flesh paid for. The group of old white men in a room with the hats on, smoking cigarettes and putting down linoleum and spanking their kids and talking about how they're going to build, Claremont Mesa and Kearney Mesa and all the Rancho del Rancho crap mesas. And there's a price to be paid for that. And that's there, and that could be some of it too.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
rightfully
yeah,
so. It was a
yeah.
wrong that needs to be righted. And so I do hope that, with the changes that are happening so in our society and culturally, to be more inclusive is got to just change the way our buildings and our places get
Mhm.
built and expressed, and as
Yeah,
well. And
yeah.
I think that, and it's going to be different, and people like myself who are older and set in our ways and getting setter and all that stuff need to just kind of shut the F up and watch what's going on and help rather than throw stones. I
Just say
don't
it's
I don't
always we have a thing on Under Architect that like um one of the people in the group, she was like laughing because she said that like her husband hates that song, This Is How We Do It, because he said that like every time that there's a bunch of people that are like, oh, let's do that song, This Is How We Do It, and then we like laugh because every time that we talk to some, it's like some architecture firm that wants everybody to keep doing stuff. Well, this is how we do it, this is how it's done, this is how we do it.
yeah.
And so that's like our big joke. It's like every day. So we're always like singing that song if somebody, we've heard like, oh my God, and then they said, oh, but this is how we do it, but
And I'm guilty of that.
always done it this way.
I've been challenged, and it's really great. I'm a practicing new urbanist. I have been for 20 something years. And one of my mentors and gurus is Andreas Duani,
Hmm.
who is wonderful and gracious with his time. But he's been challenging me for the past couple of years, and us all together, is drop your dogma. And so what I've been able to do is realize that I've been designing a lot of my neighborhoods that I design are actually just ripoffs of southeastern United States architecture and places. They look like Charleston, they look like Savannah, they look like Williamsburg, they look like these places. And this is not. And so when I'm working in Palm Springs, I don't need to be bringing that brick Georgian building to Palm Springs. It's got to be a mid-century modern because that's its history, that's its tradition, that's its expectation, that's its memory. And it's like, well, gosh, why didn't I think of that earlier? Why did I make that specific plan in 2008 for downtown Hemet to look like Savannah when today I'm able to make it go, no, it's got to look like Hemet. It's got to be of its place. It's got to be of its time. So I'm learning I'm trying to learn new tricks as this old dog and drop the dogma and challenge the dogma that I've built up over time, because that's just the way to keep yourself relevant and on top of what the culture wants and what people value today.
Hmm. So on that, so what inspires you, or what inspires your work, or how does your work inspire others? To get into the whole San Diego Design Week inspiration
Yeah,
question.
yeah. That's I feel that I when I had that crisis of career, and I found this thing that mixed use walkable urbanism is the right thing to do, and this was 1994.
Hmm.
um
Yeah.
and at that time I was Don Quixote tilting at windmills. People said I was crazy. you can't do that here. That's not how we do it. This is how we do it. Or,
This is
blah,
how
blah,
we
blah,
do
blah. And I was like, no, no. And then all of a sudden, 20 years of something, 20 something years of advocacy. Now all the policies are saying mixed use walkable urbanism. It's like, well, wait a minute. But that was revolutionary. That was inspiring. And now it's not. So what's next? So what's inspiring to me is the ability to make change, and make change for positive, because status quo is extremely subsidized, and status quo is cemented in. It's a very hard thing to break, and status quo doesn't include everybody. And so if we're going to break status quo, and I'm inspired by making change, and I understand that making change in humans is change is a scary endeavor for us, because we are scared, we're fearful people, and we don't want to, if we mess up, we can mess up a generation and it'll hurt the whole family, and we don't want to mess up, so we're afraid of change. And in San Diego, it's really nice here. There's not a lot of things that we really have, they're painful about that. This isn't Detroit, we're not a Rust Belt city that's lost its purpose. We're
Yeah.
growing, we're beautiful, it's wonderful. So making change here is really, really difficult. Well, so you have to be very smart and tactical about it. And what I'm inspired by is the ability to make change, but then to make change that's for the better is just to make change is not the right thing to do it. To make change for the better is to me soul. It nourishes my soul. It's I feel proud at the end of the day. I think about my my children and their friends and what they're going to grow up with. I think about what my ancestors left me and how I'm an ancestor to my children, and so that kind of back and forth. And that's what
Yeah.
inspires me, is the ability to just do something that's a little bit better than what was here before, so that more people can enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's our job, I think.
Yeah. 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 Definitely.
What
Definitely.
is what inspire what's now inspiration? I'll just say this: who are you? Who inspires you? What professionals inspire you?
Professionals?
Yeah, people,
I
architects.
that's hard. That's hard for me. I think who inspires me. I mean, as much as they kind of drive me crazy, my kids totally, yeah, no, my kids totally inspire me. I mean,
That's
I mean,
nice.
because they're young, and because they'll, like, I'll, like, say, and as much as they kind of, like, will say some things that kind of, like, I mean, like, right, like, we can talk about, social media or things on their phone, or, like, online
Yeah,
dating, which I'm not, it's like I'm totally against online dating, really.
yeah,
you know,
yeah. But
I
they
mean,
know
things
things you
like
don't
that.
know.
But yes, but I mean, there are things where they kind of, they will say, like, well, like if I am talking about, like, oh, somebody, DM me on Instagram about a project or something, and I, like, find that odd, and my daughter is like, well, that's the way it is, that's the
The
way,
way it is.
right? Yeah, that's
So
the
they're
way it is, and
teaching.
that's
Yeah,
what, yeah, and that's what young people are doing, and that's kind of the way, so I kind of, like, look at them for it, and also it's like, oh, I can say, hey, right, if I want anything, done in our, and some people are like, oh, I don't know how to do that, and I said, well, one, I can try to figure it out, but then I can ask my kids, right? It's like, okay, well, how do I do this? Do you know how to do
yeah.
this? And and professionals, oh, gosh. I mean, I kind of, like, laughed because a person um I did a podcast recently with Anne Fougeron, and I told her, it's like I've met her before. I've always admired her work, and I told her, during the podcast, I'm like, at the beginning, I said, I have to admit, I have kind of a girl crush on you, and well, that's fine. She's like, that's fine, you know.
That's nice. Yeah, no,
Yeah, and
that's
so, I mean, the other profession, I don't know. I mean, I have a real hard. I mean, right, and the older that we get, it's like it's like people, right? There's people that I went to school with, and it's like I admire that they've gone where they've gone, but what I don't like is I don't like how they tend to feel that their way is the only way to do it. And
Yeah.
and so for somebody who, right, I mean, it's like I decided to, to take care of my kids,
Yeah.
and also have a practice at the same time, so
I hate to
people
I hate
say no, that like you can't do that. And back when I was, and it's like well, that's the way I did it. And it's like there's still so many things that like say, okay, no, you shouldn't be paid as much, you shouldn't, you shouldn't because you took this time off. I'm like, I didn't take the time off, and who's to say what my value is? My value is it's like I'm still valuable. I have all of this experience with everything else. It's like you shouldn't say, oh, because you didn't work full time for a corporate architecture firm for 20 years or 30 years or whatever, all of a sudden, you don't count. And that's not true. And that's not what I think about other people who maybe don't look like me or you, or it's like, oh, just because your parents weren't, or you didn't grow up in this architect designed house, or in a community where people didn't know about architecture. So I kind of, it's like as far as the professionals now, it's like I admire where people go, and like what, and also, I mean, um, just with architect, I mean, I just feel like it's so difficult to get a project through the process and get it built, so I know some architects are kind of critical about another architect's work, and I don't know whether it's jealousy or not, but or what exactly it is, but I think that we should kind of band together as far as like, what, it's like if we're architects, we're not going to sit there and complain about some other architect's work, you know if we're going to try, right, because if we're doing that, it's like people are like, well, they're, even architects are bad mouthing that building, so why should we have an architect do it, I mean, and you don't hear, right, you don't hear doctors like, oh my god, did you see the nose job that that so and so did? I mean, right, they don't
yeah.
they don't do that, so I think that I think we
Yeah.
need to, I think we need to band together and be a united front sometimes as far as improving the profession and improving architecture in the world. So
Yeah, especially with the way we talked earlier about the corporate architecture and the need, and that's, you're exactly right. I was just going to say that a very interesting, I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, and
mhm.
dropped a lot of the names, but when Leon Creer was here in San Diego once, I was showing him around, and
Ah,
I showed him one of Jonathan Siegel's buildings, and I was like, oh, it's modern, it's this, it's that. I was trying to be, my traditional classical self against the modern. He goes, Howard, stop. That's actually very good modernism. He said, and I kind of said this earlier, but he said to me, he said, don't you know how hard it is to do anything good in this, this really hard place? The world is trying to kill you and trying to, he did something good. It was it's celebrated. Be happy about it. Like, yeah, you're right. Thanks. You're exactly right. So,
well, yeah, design
and I
build, I
do,
mean, that is something that I aspire to truly. Yeah.
what Ted Smith and Jonathan Siegel did with that MRED program, the Masters for
Mhm.
Real Estate, has created a tremendous amount of really great young architects who are doing tremendously great work right now. It's the best new vernacular in San Diego.
Yeah,
They're
there
drawn,
seem to be more women.
agreed, 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 agreed. It's you're not wrong about that. And the last thing I want to say is Mike Stepner inspires me. Mike
Okay,
Stepner is
yeah,
a fellow with AIA, a
yeah,
fellow with AI planning, is American Planning. Is he's raised all these children. He's adopted all these children. He's helped City of San Diego. I just admire that heck out of him. So I just wanted to put that plug in there for this. And
yeah, yeah,
thank
no,
you
that's
for the
good, that's good.
thank you for the time.
Thank you for your time. Thank you so much. I mean, we've been talking about it, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta have them do, for San Diego Design Week, and I look forward. Are you did you talk about what you're gonna do? You didn't talk about what you're gonna do for San Diego Design Week.
No, so Frank Walden, Dave McCullough, and myself are going to have a workshop at the Design Center on Fourth Avenue, the old Lloyd Rocco building. And the idea is to put it on the wall. We're gonna have a big map of San Diego, and any ideas that you have to for San Diego, design ideas, policy ideas, well, just any idea that you have for San Diego, we want to put
Hmm.
it on the wall at this on a session that we haven't set a date for yet, and they're mad at us, but we have one conflict. So, but we're gonna do it, and the idea is that you get like 20, 30 people that are volunteer to come in and bring in some ideas, and we're gonna have a session, a workshop there for to begin this discussion of designing a better San Diego. So,
Yes,
thank you for
exactly.
the
And you know
letting
what I
me.
would like to see is younger people coming in to kind of talk about things, because I mean that was like one of my things about a lot of these communities and a lot of these workshops that we would have that were in the city of La Mesa or anywhere else. You know, it's like a lot of times they're held during the day when people are at work, or they feel like they can't bring their kids to these events. And I
Yeah.
would like to encourage people, you know, bring your kids to the events. You know,
Yes.
it's like, you know, put all of the, you know, the ideas up there, because we need everybody's ideas. And you know, we need everyone in San Diego to kind of express what they want to see in the city and their environment.
And I just that's what I love about Design Week is just everybody's able to talk about it. There's hundreds of events. It's a really
Mhm.
super week, and I wish we made it. I'm looking forward to the World Design Capital and expansion of this Design
Yes,
Week into a design
yes,
year beyond.
yes.
So thank you. I'm sorry I have to go, but
I
thank you
know, I
so
know,
much.
I know. Thank you so much, Howard. Bye bye.